So what I'm going to illustrate in this video is how to use business logic that you can package up, some business logic that you wrote and some layer files that you've made, and share those with someone else so that they can override their local default. That will override their local default, or set, I should say, their local default, as well as override what Rave ships with. Okay. Now, the example I'm going to use is a Riverscape context project. And what I'm going to show you first off is kind of what you need. Okay. And so what you need is the business logic XML. And this has to be, if I open this up, this has to have the same name as the project type it is. Okay. So that's that. And you also need all the layer files that went along with it. And so if you grab those two things and you send those along, what I'm going to show you is where you update those locally to override the ones that it ships with, and set that as the custom symbology and business logic for that project type on a user's local machine. And this can also work for you if someone's shared these with you. Okay, so what we're going to do is we've got those files right there. And what we're going to do is open up another folder here, and we're going to go to %appdata. Okay, %. And what that'll do is take me to my user profile app data folder, and then you can go into roaming. And if you don't already have a folder called Rave, all caps, make one. Okay. If you've done any customization, then you'll have one. But if you haven't done any customization, it won't be there. Okay. So, but it is a folder that the software looks for. And in it, you're going to want to make a capital S symbology folder and an XML folder. And basically, you copy the customized business logic for that type into this folder, and that will override anything that's being shipped with. Really important note, if you want to see updates to business logic reflected in new releases, you need to come and either delete or rename this to something else. You know, so like if there's a release that has VBET XML, I could say VBET XML, not this one, and that would break it from finding that. Okay, but I'm not going to change that name right now. Okay, so I'm going to copy this over, and so now I've got in this roaming Rave XML folder a Riverscape context business logic. I'm going to go into symbology, and I'm going to make, and I actually already had a folder here, I'm going to make this folder RS context. You could just make a new folder, which has the same name as the business logic. Okay. And then in here, I'm going to copy the zip file, and I'm going to extract everything inside this folder that was in there, which are just a bunch of layer files. These layer files are what that business logic is looking for. Okay. Okay, now we're in a brand new empty map document, and I have the Rave toolbar. It's right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up one of these Riverscape context projects. I've got a whole bunch of Riverscape context projects here. It doesn't actually matter which one I open, so I'll just randomly grab one here. And I open this up, and now this is applying that new business logic. I'll know that this has worked. Part of this I can tell it's worked because I should have shown you this before. I guess I can illustrate this. If I come over here and want it to oops, not there, in my app data folder. And I want it to not recognize this thing. I can do what we were talking about before. So not. So now this Riverscapes context business logic file is basically not going to be visible. And so if I hit refresh, notice how the tree is different. And I'm just going to show you that when I add some things to the map, some of them might come in with symbology, but others are not. So that was slope and height. And let's do one of the Huck boundaries. So those are Huck 12. Okay, so so this is not working like we want, and I'm just going to rename this layer group so that when we test this again, I'm going to refresh this. Oops, wrong folder. So now if I get rid of that fake extension, and by the way, if you can't see file extensions like I can here, it's because you are not, it's because you're doing this. So file name extensions aren't shown. So show those file name extensions. It makes life much easier. So I come back over here, got the same project open, but I'm just going to refresh it. So now it's finding that business logic. So now it's reorganized this. I'm going to turn off this, and let's just add in a hillshade. There it is. Okay. Let's add in that DEM. So that one looks like it's the same symbology. What I am going to do here is just update this so that that layer group, as things get added to it, is looking good. And I think slope analysis was the other one that we did. And see now slope analysis is coming in degrees slope and looking like that's been customized. I think the other one we had was the Huck 12, right? So if we bring that in, notice that that Huck 12 is coming in. We could add in the Huck 10s on top of it, the Huck 8s, and then the broader Huck 6, of which this is a part. Of course, you can always add in off of the base maps things like imagery if you want. That's going to take it a second because it's got to load that at that broad scale. So there's some imagery for you. You could also instead bring in a topo base map, etc. Right? So you can get some really quick context. So anyway, that's all you have to do. You ship this with the business logic and those layer files, and you go into your app data roaming rave, and you put the business logic that you want in, and then you put the layer files. Now remember, you're going to have to delete, or if you're not comfortable with that, you could zip all these up and rename this if you don't want to delete it, if you're wanting to test to see what the default symbology that Rave is shipping with. And as you get new releases of Rave, as business logic gets updated over time, that's something that you'll have to manually be aware of. So this is definitely sort of a power user kind of game and trick here to customize this stuff, but it is quite powerful if you decide to use it.